Well, hello, and welcome back to Cyber Voices, the official podcast of the Australian Information Security Association. But you probably know us as AISA. I'm your host, David Willett, and it is my absolute pleasure to be sharing with you the diverse voices of the Australian cyber industry. Today I am joined by a bit of a superstar in the Melbourne cyber community, Daisy Wong. Daisy is a highly skilled cybersecurity professional with over 10 years experience in government, finance and retail industries. Daisy has an incredible story about how her career went from marketing through to being an absolute incredible advocate for cybersecurity. And she's got a fantastic story to tell us about some of the challenges that she had to overcome in her career. Also, stick around after the interview with Daisy because I am joined by Megan Spielvogel, the General Manager for AISA, who's stopping by to tell us what we can look forward to at this year's AISA CyberCon coming up in Melbourne at the end of November. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Cyber Voices. Let's talk about you, Daisy Wong. So I feel like having you on the show finally gives us a bit of star power. Because, if I can say so.
Yes, you can.
There's probably not a person out there, especially in Melbourne, but I think across Australia in the cyber industry, who has not been exposed to the amazingness that is Daisy Wong in all the work that you do within cyber and other stuff as well, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But how long have you kind of been getting around and doing all the sort of like podcast circuit and talking circuit? Like how long has that been going on for?
So let me take you back a little bit because otherwise people are like, I know Daisy now, but where does she come from?
There's a whole journey. Let's go on the journey, Daisy.
So the journey starts at uni and I did marketing because I really liked it. I like talking to people. I think advertising's fun, etc. So I did that. And then global financial crisis hit. And then I did my master's in international business because, why not? I could stay at uni. Dad was willing to pay. And then after that, I really needed a job. So I don't know. I applied for every graduate role under the sun except for banks. I don't like banks. My sister works in one. My brother-in-law works in one. I'm like, nah, no banks. And then I landed at IBM. And I kid you not, David, I cried the day I got the offer because I was like, who wants to work at IBM? What is IBM? What is, what is IT? I had no idea. I was hired as a project coordinator thing. And I'm like, is this what IT is? Well, first of all, obviously for the listeners who don't know, I'm a wheelchair user, have a physical disability. So I think for me, finding a role that was suitable was really important. Mm-hmm. Like, as in that gave me the flexibility that I really needed. I mean, I'm a strong believer that when there's a will, there's a way, but I can tell you right now, if I was to be in the office 5 days a week, it would be very taxing for me. Yeah, and 100%. I think it's doable, but then I think other areas of my life would suffer. Because I wouldn't have the energy or to go to work 5 days and then go out or explore other, hobbies and things like that. So I was really lucky. First role at IBM, I always worked from home, as in not full time, but I don't think I've been in the office 5 days ever. Even I think I was maybe in there 5 days for the first month, and then you get to work from home 1-2 days a week.
That's amazing for that period of time as well, right? We're talking what? So you said
12 years ago?
Post financial crisis,
12 years ago. And then that's when I realized, IT might work because, predominantly we can work from home, and it wasn't Teams back then. It was Skype and Same Time. It was Same Time because it was IBM.
I remember Same Time.
Lotus Notes.
Yeah, that is something, that's taking me back to chatting on MSN Messenger, ICQ kind of niche. Same Time existed for a very specific period of time. But,
so it was that, and then my next role, which I stayed for 2 years, was moving production servers at a bank. I ended up at a bank because the bank was IBM's customer, and then the role was made redundant. Remember, I did marketing. I say this a lot. I should be at L'Oreal selling lipstick or marketing something fun. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea what to do, but funny enough, as things go, I actually wanted to go back into a bank. I was like, I want to stay in IT. It works for me. My disability, flexibility, work from home. I didn't want to start from scratch because I felt like if I was to go back to marketing, I wouldn't I would start from scratch. And also, I was really scared, to be honest, David. Like, as in,
Yeah.
And I don't know, I say this a lot, but someone said, how are you going to move boxes? I'm like, what boxes? They're like, in marketing, you do a lot of events. And as the lowest of the rank, you're going to have to help set up events, and you're not going to be able to do that on crutches or a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, there goes my marketing dream. And then I landed my first security job, right bang straight into the penetration testing team.
How does that happen?
I applied. It was on Seek. It was a project scheduler role. It doesn't say penetration testing. It just said at a bank, you need to manage 12 technical resources, schedule their work. And so I applied because I was a project coordinator and I used to, move production servers, a lot of scheduling, a lot of, making sure the technical resources were available. So I applied, and then I got the role, 6-month contract. And I remember my first day, I literally asked, what's a penetration test? Can someone tell me what you do?
You waited till the first day to ask that question.
And then, so then that's when I literally learnt from the first day, like what security was and what the penetration testing team does, the function, didn't know what a SOC was, what's the SOC, SIEM, vulnerability management, all those jargon, all those technical terms, no idea.
What was that learning curve like?
Steep. Very steep. And also it was, I wouldn't say traumatic, but there was definitely a lot of misogyny and there was a lot of, you're not technical. And so, I did that for 3.5 years. And through that time, I started learning that, okay, pen testers, if you've worked with them there, they can be a unique bunch of people. And they generally, and obviously I'm generalizing and stereotyping, they're not very good at explaining, vulnerabilities or, issues with the system in layman's plain English. It was always CVSS scores, this and that, and they couldn't translate it into business risks. So then it got to a point where I was like, please do not speak to the business. I will speak to the business. So just do your report, do everything you do as a pen tester. I will get the report. I will speak to the project manager. I'll speak to the business owners, and I'll do the translation. Then I was there for 3.5 years, it was 3.5 years, I think. And then that role again was made redundant. And at this point, I was already starting to look at doing something else, but didn't know. And like I said, the treatment I had was very, you're not technical, Daisy. We don't know. Like, I legitimately had a manager. I had my one-on-one, and I said, "Oh, I'm really curious what my career pathway would be." They looked at me and said, "Oh, I don't know, project management maybe, or awareness. I think maybe awareness." But the way he said it was like, you're a female, you can, you can talk well, you speak well, do awareness. So I did my Prince 2 project management certificate, and then I ended up in the Victorian government as a cyber project manager. And I had quite a few projects. I implemented the vulnerability management tool. I did the pen testing, my old wheelhouse. I was like, yep, I can organize you a pen test with my eyes shut. And one of my projects was creating a security awareness campaign for them. Did that for 10 months, and I'm like, okay, I think I found my calling. I won't go against it. I will do that. I think, I can use all the marketing. I remember going to regional Victoria because I was at Victorian government. And I remember doing just a general security awareness presentation, and an older lady who was helping with the call center said, "Can you please explain how people get my email? I don't understand. It's not like my address that's in the white pages." And I'm like, "Oh, right. People still remember the white pages." That really, I don't know, but that moment really got me. That it's less about the technical, understanding the technology. It was really about the people and how you can help people understand and protect themselves. So then I moved into another department, and that was my first pure security awareness role. And then 6 months after that, COVID hit.
Yep.
And during this time, I was like, okay, and I now know I want to do security awareness full time. I'm in a very male dominated industry. I've been told by many male, people in the industry, you're not technical. There's no space for you. Don't know what you would do next. And that's when I reached out to the Australian Women's Security Network. Yeah. And Jackie Luce, our founder, and I got together and she's like, nope, that's ridiculous. There is lots of space for you and everyone else in the industry. You don't have to be, this code reader, this pen tester to have a role. So they really helped me. They really helped guide me. I got a mentor and she really helped me as well. I was a chapter lead. I was volunteering at Australian Women's Security Network. And that's when I started speaking, because as a chapter lead, you have to organize events. You have to start hosting. And this was the peak of COVID. So all the events I did was virtual. It was all over Teams, Zoom. And I will say before this point in my life, I don't think I wasn't confident, but it was also being Chinese. There was a lot of shame put on being disabled.
Right.
So if I had to be completely honest with you, it was quite nice to hide away from, as in not hide, but David, you can't see my wheelchair right now.
No, of course not.
You couldn't tell. So I literally did all these webinars, hosted all these events online. And then the first time some people saw me was at CyberCon 2022. And I had someone literally come up say, oh my God, what have you done to land yourself in a wheelchair?
like you did it on purpose. And
I was like, oh, okay. No. Always had the disability. I was born with a tumor in my spine. It was removed at 3 months old. It's left permanent spinal cord injury. She's like, oh my gosh,
of course.
I am so sorry. I had no idea. And that's when it hit me. Oh yeah, people haven't seen me. And then CyberCon 2022 was the first time I ever kind of went on stage to speak. And that was a great experience and a full circle moment, because I think I told you this, David, before, but I was at an organization before where everyone in the team was given a ticket to go to CyberCon. I was not. And when I asked, the answer was, oh, you're not technical. Let's leave the ticket to someone more technical.
And if I remember that story correctly, you were also the only woman on the team.
Correct.
And all the men went. Is that correct?
All the men went, yes. Yeah. And they were also sponsoring. I believe another ticket wouldn't have been difficult to obtain, in my perspective. I might be wrong. I guess people find me entertaining enough that they asked me to come and speak again. And then it just kind of went from there.
It's such an incredible story, which is why I thought it was so important to bring you on and to hear it again. I mean, I've heard bits of that story before, so everyone listening, my first introduction to Daisy, she came into a former employer of mine to give a talk to our technical leadership team it was very focused around diversity and inclusion. We were a team at that point in time who were grappling with how we create the right work environment, the right recruitment structures to ensure that we were not a male-dominated technology and security team. And I think your story meant so much to everyone, so much so that I know that organization got you back to talk again to a broader audience. There's more than one challenge that you had to overcome to find that niche. And there was the misogyny aspect of it, which has existed not just in cyber, but in a lot of industries for quite some time. And cyber is really having a bit of a reckoning with that at the moment. AWSN and Jackie do such fabulous work in creating that space. But then there is, the fact that you are in a wheelchair as well, and what that meant for you personally and culturally. It is quite an inspiring story, and I can tell that you love telling it, because it's it's something that people should really kind of consider in terms of, there are a lot of things out there, that differences that maybe people aren't aware of, which make a very different experience in the workplace. And I hazard to guess your male co-workers who left you out of CyberCon probably made more than one assumption as to why
correct.
it would not be the right thing for you, whether that be your gender, your wheelchair, or your perceived technical acumen. How have things changed? But what are you, if I may ask, also what are you still struggling with on a lot of those aspects?
Yeah, I think it's improved. I think, AWS and a lot of organizations, whether it be your former or a lot of other organizations are trying to make a conscious effort to, hire more women, but also more diversity. Now, I've always stood by it. I have a physical disability. I'm not neurodiverse, not that I know of. So I can't speak on their behalf, the challenges they have. But I think, as a whole industry, we are trying to improve. We're trying to improve diversity. And I really hope I've helped even 1% of that, just to help people understand that, just because someone has a physical disability or someone who can't be in the office 5 days a week doesn't mean they're less engaging.
Yep.
They're less of a team player. It's just a different way, right? I think, we're moving in the right direction. Where I think I still have issues is people, I think you used the word before, make assumptions. So I have been at conferences where, and by the way, remember, my disability is very visible. I mean, you have to have seen my pink wheelchair. I've probably wheeled into you. I'm always
I've spent some time at the block party at CyberCon with you. Yes.
Yes, when after a few drinks as well. So it's my disability is very visible, right? So, but even then I've had organizations or, conferences, not AISA, but invite me to speak, and there wasn't a ramp provided, and and then they made the assumption it's only 2 steps. I see you've got crutches. Can you hobble on the stage? No, because first of all, if I fall, who's responsible? And remember, if I injure myself, the conference organizers aren't the one having to deal with 2 months of physio, a broken leg, or whatever it may be, right? And the other problem I personally still find is the technical acumen. That I still get that. Even a few months ago, I met with a vendor, and I came in and I was a few minutes late to the meeting. I'm like, hi, I'm so sorry for being late. And they immediately said, no worries, Daisy, you're not the decision maker. We were just talking about email gateways. And I'm like, okay, cool. They continue talking. I was like, oh, cool. So, I was like, oh,
very condescending,
very condescending. And I said, oh, so could you tell me more about your email gateway? Because we use this vendor, and how does it integrate with our other tools? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. It's very technical. Maybe we'll speak to so-and-so who's more technical. And then now being older and being more confident, I do pull them up though. Like I did say, sorry, can I stop you there? I am the decision maker. I do understand email gateways. Otherwise, I would not have asked that question. Could you please? Yeah, but it takes a long time, and not everyone's as confident. And I wouldn't have been able to do it 5 years ago.
But do you still have to kind of work up the bravery and the courage to assert yourself in those situations? Is it always in the back of your mind? Like
always. And I feel like I'm naturally a bit of a people pleaser. Like I said, I'm Chinese, I'm very, servitude or no, we're supposed to be meek and quiet. I already don't fit half of what my parents wanted me to be. But, I think at the back of my mind, it's still there, especially when I still get really awkward talk about money. Whenever I've been offered a new job or in negotiations, I feel quite anxious about it. Actually, no, I do have high functioning anxiety. So I do see a therapist, happy to share, very open, but mine is very centered around my disability. That I'm not good enough, or, because of my disability, I should be grateful to have a job. I shouldn't then ask for what I deserve.
Imposter syndrome sits on all of our shoulders in a lot of different interesting ways. I think it propels a lot of us very, very differently. I'm interested in, I want to kind of pull on that sort of assumptions thread a little bit more, and, the advice that you give to people who maybe employing someone with a disability or someone who has a need that is maybe different to what they're used to, right? Like what kind of advice do you give to employers in that situation?
Yeah, ask. I always say ask, and make it a safe environment to ask. So, don't have 5 people from the organization putting the person you're employing in the middle and interrogate. That's quite overwhelming. I think, make it a safe space. I prefer generally the hiring manager asking me because they should be my advocate and I should be working with them quite closely. I would, I would like to have this relationship where I can trust them, that if I tell them I have a requirement or a need, that they'll be able to advocate for me without them feeling like they're asking the wrong thing or they're asking too much. So, for instance, I always ask wherever I go, can you please organize parking for me? Because it's a lot easier for me to drive somewhere, grab my wheelchair, than for me to have to maxi cab, and taxis may not be on time. I might be stranded on the street. Trust me, it's happened before. Try to avoid that. I have a car for a reason. And, most organizations I've worked at has been supportive, but I have been somewhere where they basically said, oh, we don't provide parking for someone at your level. Then they proceeded to give me a stack of taxi cab ride, those taxi, what do you call them, David?
Cab charges.
Cab charges, that's it. They gave me a whole stack and said, oh, you can take a taxi to work and get a taxi home. And again, I was a bit younger. I was more junior and I had to speak up. And I said, thank you so much, but that's not really a viable solution because taxis aren't reliable and I might want to go out after work.
And I wanted to quickly touch on this for a moment as well, in terms of, people can make mistakes and get it wrong. And, as long as they're kind of willing to do better, because when we organized to do this podcast, we were chatting about doing it, and I just assumed that you would probably prefer to do virtual. I thought about it afterwards, and I didn't initially give you the option. And then I emailed you and I said, sorry, I didn't actually give you the option. Would you like to do in person? And if so, what do you need, right? And it wasn't this like massive kind of weight of guilt. It was just like, oh no, I should have asked. So I'll go and ask. And the advice to other people, if you're in that situation too, is just, you just got to just do better. Like that's all it really is just do better.
No, it's perfect, David. So, and obviously this is a lot easier because it's a work day and in between things, and it would be a lot more logistics if I was to come to the studio. So that's fine. But no, I think exactly that. It's just reflecting on how you can maybe not make assumptions and ask a different way. But everyone's human. I'm not perfect.
I do also want to talk to you about your passion for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, you said before, you were almost told in a condescending way, oh, you should do awareness.
Yeah.
However, you found that was your passion. So tell me more, Daisy, about what it was that really gripped you about doing, culture and awareness within organizations, and how that's kind of evolved for you, and what's your approach like?
I think I mentioned it before, but the lady who was at the regional Victoria session, when she kind of held my hand and said, I don't understand cyber, I don't understand what this is. That was the first time I was like, oh wow, I can actually make a direct impact to a person. That was the kind of first time. And then as I, because I started off in such a technical team, I kind of saw how security, like the technology, protects the organization. But then I always kind of felt like, I don't really care how much money the bank makes. I care that the customers as individuals were protected. And that, again, was another reason. And then I just realized, people process technology. The people are always blamed. I'm sure, David, you've heard of it in our industry. Humans are the weakest link. And let me flip that for you. They're not the weakest link. They can be your strongest asset. They just need to be trained and, and assisted, right? And last time I checked, AI is fantastic. It's not taking our jobs yet. yet. I don't know what roles they're going to take away from us, okay? But, you still need to employ humans, right? And you can't patch a human. You can't just schedule a 3 a.m. update, patch them, and expect them to be okay. We're humans, right? I don't remember the figure, but I'm pretty sure it's either 21 or 27. Don't quote me on it. You have to do something 21 or 27 times before it becomes a habit. So why is it just, I tell you to do a compliance learning module once a year and you're going to be cyber safe? That's ridiculous, right? Yeah. And I just think, so these poor people, whether it be teachers, nurses, whoever it is, they're not hired to be security professionals, but then they're constantly told they're a problem. They're the reason why they cause big outages, big incidents. So I think that's why I really liked it. And I just love the direct impact. I love helping people protect themselves, protect their family, and ultimately, obviously, the organization as well. So that's why I'm really passionate. And the other thing I like about security is we shouldn't be competitive. So at the end of the day, customer, we can compete. Please buy my product from my company and not David, right? But when it comes to security, I think we can actually work together. 100%. The bad people do. The bad guys work really well together. So why can't we? So, yeah. And then in terms of my approach, it's always the carrot approach, and that is never the stick, carrot and the stick. I believe in, what's my quote that I printed on a mug? I'll get you one, David. You're one of the special ones who get the mug, and it is, don't use a stick, use a carrot, put cream cheese on top, and make a cake.
Now I'm hungry, but yeah, that's great.
Because it's true. Because if you think about who likes to be told, not to do something, exactly. Like it doesn't work. Like, if I'm scared, I then get avoidant, then I don't report things, then you're not able to follow up. It doesn't shift culture. Culture isn't done because they're scared. It takes many years of behavior changing, repetition, make it engaging and fun. And that's what I always try to do. And the last thing I'll say that's been really effective is storytelling. Normalize it. Like I said it early before, I used to always get phished by the phishing simulations. I've actually been phished before, like in person. I had to get a new credit card.
People who've clicked on email phishing simulations, the number of people I've had to have conversations with over the years, it's like, it's okay. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all just to help. I think I had someone just recently who I didn't even know that they had clicked on the phishing simulation, but the day they did, I needed to chat to them about something. And I sent them a message on Teams because they were on the phone. I said, can you let me know when you're off the phone? I just want to ask you something. And they were terrified because they thought they'd clicked the phishing simulation link that morning, and they thought I was, like me of all people, was going to get cranky and upset with them about it. And I'm like, oh no, I don't go around to everyone individually. I've been doing that all week.
The thing you want to, and this is what I want to see more in our industry as well. And that is, I want us to be the team of yes and support. It's a safe space. I think we still have a bit of that maybe ego that, we're smarter, we're better than you. I see that in the industry a little bit, where a lot of security teams think they're more superior. Well, I want that to stop. Like, we're just part of, you can't have security without technology, without data. We're all just in this together. And I want security to stop being their own island. My very unpopular opinion is we're a cost center, David.
Absolutely.
We're a cost center. We don't generate income, we don't generate income for an organization. We're like an insurance policy. I think we're very important. Someone heckled me, and he's a friend, and I'm going to send this podcast to him. He heckled me when I was doing a panel a few weeks ago, and he basically said a lot of organizations have been hacked, have dealt with data breaches and incidents. Why spend money in security? Because, share prices eventually come back up anyway. And my response was, I will handle you off stage, because how dare you heckle me? But apart from that, I said, well, if that's the case, why do we talk about prevention with health? There are people who smoke and drink and live to 95. But why do we try and live a healthy lifestyle? Because generally speaking, not everyone's that lucky to smoke, drink till 95. right?
Mhm.
And you might suffer a lot, even though you live till 95, right? So I think it's the same thing. Why do we, try and prevent things? It's the same with our health, same as an organization security.
Daisy, if you could go back in time
Mm-hmm.
and give that Daisy who got that job at IBM any advice about working in the cyber industry, what would it be? But then also, I wouldn't mind hearing what you might say to other young women as well who are entering into this industry too.
I will give young Daisy advice that this industry is okay. You will survive. Because honestly, there were moments where I'm just like, I think I should just leave. I should do something else. I think, and it goes with all women. And I meet a lot of people, men and women, who are trying to start out in the industry. And I have a lot of people say, oh, I really want to do your role one day. And they're like, how did you get there? And I wish there were more entry level roles. I'm sure you agree, David. They're
100%.
But I think the advice I would give young Daisy and other young women in particular is find yourself a good mentor. And the mentor doesn't have to be someone senior. It doesn't have to be within your organization. It can just find someone who can give you some good advice and someone who you can bounce off ideas. And just a support group, a group of people who always have your best interest, who can give you that advice. And the main thing to call out is when I say mentor, network, support group, don't go with the intention of asking someone for a job. Someone you can learn from, someone you can bounce ideas from. So yeah, I think that's the biggest too. And the last one I will say is there is enough space and room for everyone to join the industry. Your path just may be bumpier than you would have liked. Mine wasn't smooth sailing. You know that, David. I had 2 redundancies. I had people condescendingly tell me there is no space for me. So it may not be a smooth path, but you will get there, and there is enough space. I truly believe.
That's so good. Daisy, thank you so much for sharing your voice with us today and your story. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much, David.
The biggest event on the Australian cyber calendar is just around the corner. AISA's CyberCon is coming up at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre at the end of November, and so I got the AISA General Manager, Megan Spielvogel, to join me in the studio to let us know what we can expect at this year's CyberCon. I'm imagining a lot of people who've ever attended an AISA event, probably especially if in our Victorian branch, are probably familiar with you. But for everyone else, Megan is absolutely one of the unsung heroes behind AISA and all of our events. So how many cyber conferences have you been involved with now, or is it too many to remember?
No, this will be my 6th CyberCon, as we term it, 6th year, part of the organising committee of CyberCon. Yeah.
Wow, and they just keep getting bigger and better each year. So what have we got to look forward to in 2024?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. It has grown enormously in the 6 years that I've been involved with CyberCon. When I was first involved with it, we had, I think it was about 1,500 delegates, and now we're expecting between 5,000 and 6,000 delegates in 2024, which is really exciting. So it's grown enormously over that time, and I think that's a reflection on the growth of the industry and prominence, I guess, in the media and with all the breaches that we're seeing. We've got a great lineup of keynote speakers, some of whom have been out before for CyberCon. So Mikko Hyppinen, who's very well known in the cyber industry, who was here last year, he'll be back due to overwhelming popular demand. He always has great presentations and interesting insights to tell. We've got Jose Hernandez, who is a former NASA astronaut and has a really inspiring story of trying to become an astronaut for a number of years and tried something like 11 times to become an astronaut and finally was accepted into the program for NASA, I think, in 2004. We've got Nina Schick, who is an AI expert coming out from the UK, who is internationally known as sort of a global AI expert, and will be talking to us all about the ethics of AI and the development of AI and where it's going to end up well, who knows where it's going to end up, but she'll give her insights. And then we have two other speakers, so Kylie Moore-Gilbert and Cheng Li, who are both, one is an academic and one's a journalist, and they were both, I guess, imprisoned for various reasons, and one was over in Iran and the other one was in China, and they were both in prison as political prisoners. So they're going to tell their stories. And then we've got a few other very exciting big names, but I can't release those to you yet.
I don't even know who they are. So she's keeping that a secret from all of us, everyone. But stay tuned. We are always treated to such high quality speakers and guests at CyberCon, both in the keynotes and in terms of the different streams and talking tracks that we have as well.
Yeah, so with our program, we really try to, I guess, with the call for speakers that we do, this year we were overwhelmed with the number of submissions. So we had over 700 submissions in our call for speakers this year. About 300 of those were actually selected. So it was quite tough to get into the program this year. So the call for speakers and the streams, so there's over 40 streams that are talked about and discussed throughout the 3 days. They're really cyber focused. So any kind of area you could possibly think of in terms of cyber is covered in those concurrent streams. And what we try to do then is have a balance with the keynote speakers to give you a really well-rounded program. So it's a little bit of, thought leadership and insight from cyber, but also, as you said, those sort of building resilience stories and personal stories that kind of give everybody a really well-rounded program. And that's what we try to do. We have something for everybody. So we have something for the sort of early stage, new into the industry, doesn't have a lot of background in cyber. So I call them Cyber 101 talks, all the way through to really highly technical talks. So it covers everything.
Yeah, and in terms of who should attend, that's a really good point there, because pretty much anyone can attend, no matter what your level of technical knowledge is. Even if you're a cyber beginner or maybe a student looking to get into the industry or whatever it may be, there's a little bit of something for everyone. I very much remember my first CyberCon, which I think was back in 2019, and it was such an eye-opening experience, and the scope of the industry went from about a centimeter wide to several thousand kilometers wide, and such a great way for everyone to come along and share ideas, both in the speaking streams and in all the other events that take place as well. Yeah, it's really where the industry comes together each year. On that note, what are some of the, outside of all the keynotes and the talking tracks and all that, what are some of the other side events that we've got planned this year?
So we've got a very large exhibition space this year. So we've got over 150 odd sponsors. There are still some booths or sponsorship opportunities available if anyone's interested to contact us, but it is selling out very quickly. In that expo area, we've got a number of really interactive areas. So we have a careers village. So Ricky Burke has organised our, careers village again this year. He did an excellent job last year. So that is giving everybody coming into cyber a really good start into, what to look for in a CV, interview skills, career paths in cyber. And that'll be held over the 3 days. And it's not just for students coming into the industry, but also career changes. So that's all covered off in the Careers Village. We have a Knowledge Hub. So a Knowledge Hub is sort of more TED Talks, sort of 20-minute short, sharp sessions. And they're really your Cyber 101 sessions. Then we've got a Locksport Village, very popular last year, had to come back this year. So everyone can test out their lock sport. I don't want to say lock picking, but lock sport skills. They're lock sport skills. So unpicking locks and all sorts of different exciting, they have various levels of padlocks that you can then scale up and test your knowledge and skills. And we have think tanks. So they're they're about 30-minute sessions. You put on some headphones and they're quick, sharp, short sessions and are really thought-provoking sessions. So they're held also around the convention centre. And then there is one other sort of area that I can't announce, but it's super exciting. Super exciting. Might have something to do with AI, but we'll see.
Well, I think it would definitely be remiss of us to not have a heavy AI presence at this year's CyberCon. And I can guarantee you there's probably going to be quite a few people talking about it. And as they should be. It's such an interesting and ever-evolving topic right now. Now, I mentioned before as well, there's also a lot of fun that happens at CyberCon. Now, we've got a lot of fun networking events that happen after 5 p.m. The return of the block party, I believe.
What our famous block party.
What can people look forward to this year?
Well, the block party has become a sort of famous event in its own right. I've actually spoken with lots of people who just come to CyberCon for the block party. So once again, lots of fun at the block party. We've got lots of entertainment happening at the block party, amazing food. It is well known as one of the best networking events that you can possibly go to in the cyber industry. Yes, there's a few sore heads in the next morning, but it's a really, really great night. There's a bit of something for everybody. So if there's a dance floor, there's bands, there's different themed food. And again, we've got some surprises in store at the block party this year.
It is the best. It was so much fun. Last year was my first time ever attending the block party. And I pretty much decided I will never not attend the block party ever again. So registration's still open. Where can people go to register and be a part of CyberCon?
Yeah, so they just need to go to cyberconference.com.au, which is our home site for CyberCon. So we've got two versions, I guess, of CyberCon. One's in Melbourne and then one's in Canberra next year in March. So they just go to that website and they'll be able to access both sites. And you click through to Melbourne and you can explore all of the program, all of the sessions and speakers are up there. So you can have an explore. You can filter sessions based on the theme on the website, and then you can go through to the registration process from there.
Excellent. Well, everyone, that is Australian CyberCon, the 26th to the 28th of November 2024 at the Melbourne Convention Centre. Megan, thank you so much for joining us and for all the work you're doing. I guess we'll see you at the conference.
If you'll see me there. Thanks.
Thank you once again for listening to another episode of Cyber Voices. Our music is by Sanagarut and our show artwork is by Studio Quarantine. We record and produce this podcast at This Is a Studio in Paran, Melbourne, part of Pop Plant Productions. Please follow the show on your podcast platform of choice and leave us a 5-star review. It does help others find the show. Also, please make sure you follow the association on LinkedIn or Instagram. If you want to add your voice to our ever-growing chorus of diverse cyber voices, if you have questions or even some feedback on the show, or perhaps would like to be a sponsor, you can do so by emailing us at cybervoices@aisa.org.au. Are you an AISA member? If not, you should consider joining our network of over 12,000 plus cybersecurity professionals across Australia. An AISA membership can open doors, build professional networks, create lifetime friendships, and offer exclusive training, events, and other perks. Become a member today by heading to our website at aisa.org.au. That's all for today. I hope you will join us again next time on Cyber Voices.